Hey, welcome back, guys. Sinners captivated audiences with its blend of supernatural horror, historical intrigue, and deeply personal storytelling. But the world it created is vast, too vast to be contained in a single film. Imagine a world where the sins of the past bleed into the present, intertwining forbidden love, vengeance, and redemption. Sinners set the stage, but these potential expansions could push its legacy even further. These 6 spin-offs delve deeper into the lives and struggles of pivotal characters, exposing their histories, motivations, and the far-reaching consequences of their choices. In this video, with Sinners set to be released on Max on July 4th, we'll explore how each film builds upon the Sinners' legacy and cements its place as a cinematic universe. Before we begin, be sure to hit the like button, subscribe, and bell notification to immediately receive these videos. Also, big thank you to all of my Patreon family. If you'd like to be the next one, hit the link pinned to the comments below. And lastly, a spoiler alert is now in effect for all things Sinners. Here we go. Must-see spinoff number 1, Smok and Stack, Chicago's Shadowed Past. Before the chaos of Sinners, Smok and Stack ruled Chicago's streets in a dangerous partnership. This prequel dives into their early years, battling rival factions, forging their identities, and setting the groundwork for their eventual descent into supernatural entanglement. Chicago's underworld has always been a breeding ground for ambition, violence, and loyalty, and Smok and Stack would bring us to the heart of it. This prequel would chronicle the rise of Smok and Stack before the vampire element took hold, when their battles were fought with flesh, steel, and fire rather than bloodlust. Remember, the Smokestack twins were in Chicago for 7 years. Both were war vets and experienced German trenches and Chicago gang conflicts from 1925 to 1932, the latter being the year in which the film is initially set. In biblical numerology, 7 represents divine completion. For example, God rested on the 7th day to symbolize the perfection in his work. Jesus made 7 statements on the cross. The physical plane highlights the perfection of 7 as well, as there are 7 seas, 7 continents, 7 keynotes, and 7 colors in a spectrum. Per Mary's revelation prior to being turned, the twins pitted the Irish and Italians against each other in Chicago, robbing both sides and running back to Mississippi with the money. We learned this from Stack as a vampire, trying to convince Smok to join him. As he says, quote, "All the wish we've been through together? German trenches, nigga." Thus, Smok and Stack likely fought in that war between 1918 and 1921. So in a spinoff like this, expect to see world building. A gritty, noir-inspired Chicago in the late 20th century, full of dimly lit alleyways, jazz clubs doubling as front operations, and corrupt officials who turn a blind eye. The character dynamics will be Stack, the smooth talker with an iron will, and Smok, a volatile force driven by loyalty and rage. Their relationship would be tested by betrayals and power struggles, foreshadowing the tragic path they will walk. The themes will be brotherhood, trust, and the descent into darkness. How far can loyalty stretch before it breaks? And visually, we'd receive a storytelling component based on high-contrast cinematography, smoke-filled rooms, rapid-fire dialogue, and brutal but artistic fight sequences. Must-see spinoff number 2, Stack and Mary, a love story forbidden twice. In Sinners, Stack and Mary's vampiric bond is a love that defies death. But before immortality, there was heartbreak. Their current vampire romance echoes a much older tragedy. This prequel intertwines their past romance and their present undead existence through a mix of dreamlike flashbacks and harsh realities. The racial politics of their time was central to the forbidden nature of their bond. Keep in mind, when Stack first encountered Mary at the train station, immediately following his reunion with Delta Slim, he purposely didn't maintain eye contact with her, acknowledging said racial political climate. They were haunted in life prior to being haunted in death, and such a story would unfold this dynamic thoroughly. Through detailed flashbacks, Stack and Mary, a forbidden love, would weave their history into the present, forcing us to ask the following: is love destined to repeat its mistakes? This plot structure would look like mirrored timelines, one in the past and one in the present, showing how their love continues to haunt them. From a character depth perspective, a young Stack and Mary would face societal pressures, betrayals, and personal weaknesses, while their future selves would wrestle with what it means to love eternally. The themes would be fate versus free will, repeating cycles, and the pain of memory. And from a cinematic standpoint, a mix of saturated warm tones for the past and cold, shadowy hues for the present to highlight emotional contrast would make this potential spinoff a box office hit. Must-see spinoff number 3, Smok and Annie, a love written in blood. Genesis 2:23 states, "Bones of my bones, flesh of my flesh." But what happens when that sacred bond crumbles? This spinoff would peel back Smok and Annie's tormented past, their lost child, the unraveling of their faith, and the crime Smok committed in his desperate attempt to hold on to love. Love can be divine, but it can also be destructive. Smok's devotion to Annie, once pure, later twisted, sends him down a path of desperation, crime, and supernatural entanglement. Hoodoo elements would deepen the narrative, showing how faith and mysticism would weave into his choices. These spiritual traditions add another layer to his troubled history, blurring the lines between devotion and darkness. A spin-off such as this would allow historical exploration, the cultural significance of hoodoo in communities, and how it intersects with love, grief, and justice would be a highlight. It would also hold emotional weight, as Smok's transformation from a man seeking salvation to one spiraling into destruction in the name of love would be something to see. The themes will be the cost of devotion, blind faith versus self-preservation. And visually, we'd receive storytelling from symbolism-heavy sequences where rituals, spiritual warfare, and emotional breakdowns will come to life. Must-see spinoff number 4, Delta Slim, Blues in the Jim Crow South. Before he became a legend, Delta Slim had to survive hell. This prequel will follow his journey through the Jim Crow era, navigating racism, crime, incarceration, and redemption through music. It's not just a story, it's an odyssey of resilience. In the film, Delta Slim recounted a tragic story about losing a brother in the blues due to the evils of the Jim Crow South. At the end of his story about his former brother being falsely accused of stealing, assaulting a white man's wife, and lynched by the Klan, he began humming and stumping to a blues melody while riding along in the car as a way of healing from the traumatic memory. The blues were his refuge and his strength in troubled times. Music saved some, but not all. Delta Slim's journey through the brutal Jim Crow era would showcase how oppression shapes art, how hardship fuels creativity, and how redemption sometimes means surrendering to fate. The setting would be a segregated America, where Slim navigates racism, crime, imprisonment, and eventually finds solace in the blues. The major conflict in this series would be him being torn between survival and passion. He struggles to use his music as a means of escape. The themes would be oppression, artistry, and resilience. And as far as stylistic choices, there'd be a strong focus on sound design, music blending with environmental tension, and performance sequences illustrating emotional release. Must-see spinoff number 5, Remick, an Irish-American horror story. Long before the bloodlust took hold, Remick was a man fighting for his people. His transformation into a vampire is one of tragedy and fury, leading to a harrowing battle with Choctaw hunters. A pure fright fest, violent, raw, and deeply personal, Remick's backstory is more than just a vampire origin. It's a revenge tale wrapped in supernatural horror. His transition from human to predator is both tragic and terrifying, pushing him into conflict with Choctaw hunters determined to see him destroyed. This spinoff will cover in historical depth. Ireland's struggles and the crimes against his people will shape his fury. The horror elements will be traditional Irish folklore mixed with vampire mythology. Themes will be revenge and the morality of survival. And from a cinematic perspective, the approach will be atmospheric horror with haunting visuals, candlelit shadows, Gaelic chants, and brutal yet beautiful combat sequences. And finally, must-see spinoff number 6, Preacher Boy Sammy, A Song for Survival. After escaping his father's grasp in the wake of the vampire massacre, Sammy found himself in the world of blues, but success wasn't just luck. Stack and Mary watched over him from the shadows, ensuring his rise by any means necessary. This film will connect sinners into a larger cinematic universe, where fate, music, and supernatural forces would collide. A blues prodigy emerging from tragedy, Sammy's story isn't just about music, it's about unseen guardians watching over time. Stack and Mary would interfere in his life and ensure his success, but at what cost? The plot structure will be Sammy's rise parallel to Stack and Mary's silent interventions, revealing how his path was never entirely his own. The themes would be free will versus manipulation and the price of success. And the stylistic choices would be documentary-style moments interwoven with dramatic storytelling, making his journey feel like a myth unraveling in real time. To conclude, each spinoff would expand Sinners into a universe that transcends its original film. Whether it's through horror, history, romance, or music, these stories prove that the sins of the past don't just die, they evolve. The Sinners cinematic universe is just waiting to unfold. But what are your thoughts on these potential spinoffs? And what are some ideas that you might have that would only add to the cinematic universe? Be sure to drop me your opinions in the comments below. As always, I thank you for watching today's video. If you liked today's video, go ahead and drop $1 on that Cash App for us, hit the like button, share with your friends who are Sinners fans, and subscribe for more content such as this. This is Rudy P. Magic of Rudy P. Magic Beats, and have a blessed one until the next one. Peace, y'all.